Daniel Webster once said, "Hold on, my friends, to the Constitution and to the republic for which it stands, for miracles do not cluster, and what has happened once in 6,000 years may never happen again. So hold on to the Constitution, for if the American Constitution should fall, there will be anarchy throughout the world." Our founding fathers wrote the words of our Constitution down for us because they did not want us to forget that their true meaning, or to otherwise fall prey to those who would deliberately undermine or destroy it. This has always been the preeminent reason why we write down documents or agreements or declarations or constitutions in the first place, to preserve their original meaning and intent. Protecting the lives of innocent Americans and their constitutional rights is why those of us in this room are all here. Indeed, this is why Congress itself exists. The phrases in the 5th and 14th Amendments encapsulate our entire Constitution when they proclaim that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Those words are a crystal clear reflection of the proclamation, the Declaration of Independence, that declares that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, those being life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those words are the essence of America, and our commitment to them for more than 2 centuries has set America apart as the flagship of human freedom in the entire world. And yet unspeakable suffering and tragedy have occurred whenever we have strayed from those words. Our own United States Supreme Court ruled that millions of men, women, and children were not persons under the Constitution because their skin was black. It took a horrible civil war and the deaths of over 600,000 Americans to reverse that unspeakable tragedy. And we saw the same arrogance in 1973 when the Supreme Court said the unborn child was not a person under the Constitution. And we have since witnessed the silent deaths of now over 50 million innocent little baby boys and baby girls who died without the protection the Constitution gave them and without the protection this Congress should have given them. HR3 is a bipartisan bill that takes a step to turn America away from that tragedy. The bill forms part of the new majority's pledge to America, codifying the Hyde Amendment by permanently prohibiting taxpayer funding of abortion across all federal programs. In addition, the bill protects health care workers' rights of conscience so that they cannot be coerced to participate in abortion procedures as a condition of their employment.
You asked the Capitol Police to restore order. Just say the Capitol Police will restore order.
The Capitol Police are in the process of restoring order here, and we're going to go ahead and continue. We'll ask him to continue. The Speaker of the House, John Boehner, directed that this bill receive the designation HR3 as, quote, one of our highest legislative priorities. HR3 is intended to continue the same policy as the Hyde Amendment. The Hyde Amendment prohibits taxpayer funding of abortion except in cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. And contrary to some discussion in the press, this bill will not be a departure from the decades of implementation of the Hyde Amendment policy. Sponsors of the bill are reviewing clarifying language for amending HR3 to assure lawmakers that funding policy as it relates to cases of rape will not be altered by this bill. The second part of this bill provides necessary protection for healthcare workers who will not perform or refer for abortions as a matter of conscience. Those who believe that a pregnancy is a circumstance which presents with 2 patients, the mother and the unborn child, cannot in good conscience do harm to that unborn child and therefore should not be coerced into performing abortions as would be required under the current healthcare system. Now, it is said that government is what it spends. Planned Parenthood alone aborts over 250,000 unborn babies every year, all the while it receives hundreds of millions of dollars in federal, state, or local taxpayer funds. This legislation is really about whether the role of America's government is to continue to fund a practice that takes the lives of over 1 million little Americans every year. Even some of those who do not consider themselves pro-life strongly object to their taxpayers going to pay for abortion, their dollars. Now, I believe the intensity of this debate has something to do with our collective conscience. Perhaps it's because ultrasound technology has begun to demonstrate to all reasonable observers both the humanity of the victim and the inhumanity of what is done to them. We are beginning to realize as Americans that somehow we are bigger than abortion on demand, and that 50 million dead children is enough. And we're beginning to ask the real question: does abortion take the life of a child? If it does not, then all of this here today is a non-issue. But if it does, then those of us sitting here in the chambers of freedom are in the midst of the greatest human genocide in the history of humanity. Thomas Jefferson said that the care of human life and its happiness, and not its destruction, is the chief and only object of good government. And ladies and gentlemen, using taxpayer dollars to fund the killing of innocent unborn children does not liberate their mothers. It is not the cause for which those lying out under the white stones in Arlington National Cemetery died, and it is not good government. Abraham Lincoln called upon all of us to remember America's founding fathers and quote, "Their enlightened belief that nothing stamped with the divine image and likeness was sent into the world to be trodden on or degraded and imbruted by its fellows." He reminded us, those he called posterity, that when in the distant future some man, some faction, some interest should set up the doctrine that some were not entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that, quote, their posterity, that's us, ladies and gentlemen, their posterity might look up again to the Declaration of Independence and take courage to renew the battle which their fathers began. May that be the commitment of all of us today.